Tooth decay, again, happens only in a mouth that is too acidic. At a pH of 5.5, the teeth begin to demineralize. How scary is that? Leaving them vulnerable to cavities. When a saliva has a pH of 7.5 or above, teeth can become strong and actually remineralize. One of the tools that I would like to share, coral calcium toothpaste is not proven to be very effective, but there's a mineral called apatite, and not like appetite like food, apatite, and that mineral ground up will actually remineralize the teeth. You can get the only toothpaste that I'm aware of, there may be more, it's called Apagard. You can get it on Amazon. It is not cheap. I've been using it for a year or two now, and I really have noticed a difference. Again, that is Apagard, and it really does seem to help remineralize the teeth. I'm adopted. I'm pretty sure my mother took tetracycline when she was pregnant with me. My teeth are like stained yellow from the inside out, and the mineralization of my teeth has never been optimal. But the Apagard is really making a difference. As well as for each one of us, one thing we can all do is eat plenty of mineral rich green leafy vegetables, non-sweet green juices, kale, collard, spinach, chard, lettuces. And then we get these highly bioavailable trace minerals, which help alkalinize the blood, strengthen our bones, and buffer that acidity in the mouth. And again, as we're all aware, so much of the soil is depleted in this world. So growing our own, getting it fresh from people's gardens like farmers markets, that's going to be probably the most effective, and definitely organic if you have to buy it from the store. The organic farmers tend to try to be much more careful with the soil, and it tends to have more of the minerals that the vegetables uptake. And again, I'll harp it, the weeds, the things we call weeds, are so much better at extracting the minerals from the ground. So the more we incorporate the wild plants into our diet, the better off we're going to be as well. Keeping the body alkaline also gives a boost to the immune system. Most diseases cannot thrive in an alkaline system. Oil pulling. Oil pulling is getting more well known, but it's still not as commonly known as one could wish. It's very ancient practice. It's come back into vogue, I'd say, within the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. It helps to actually draw out toxins from the gums and the body as a whole. So you take a tablespoon of high quality organic cold pressed plant oil. Most of us prefer coconut oil because it's got a much more pleasant taste. But sesame oil was the original oil. It's from the country of India is where this started. And you swish it for up to 20 minutes. And I don't know how to describe it other than you're kind of pulling the oil between your teeth. Oil is obviously more viscous than liquid, and sometimes and many times when you spit that oil out, it's a very different color than it went in, because it's again pulled all those toxins out. It's great for gum health, great for dental health. It helps us to detox. It helps brighten the teeth and prevent plaque from building up during the day. You can also add a few drops of therapeutic grade essential oil. Be very careful that this is therapeutic grade, not the kind that you would just put in a diffuser, because you don't want the chemicals and the synthetic and the artificiality comes from the non-therapeutic grades. But these orange oil or tea tree oil or clove, different spearmint, a lot of these are peppermint, very helpful for the oral health. Take ionic mineral supplements, especially if you have any challenges. Our teeth are part of our skeletal system. So that would tell us that calcium is important, but also, as many of us know, that you have to have the right balance of chemicals so that you can minerals so that you can actually absorb the calcium. So, and the bones also require these other trace minerals: manganese, phosphorus, potassium, silica, uh, magnesium in the correct balance with calcium is very important. And again, our green leafies come with this balance, which is really good. But again, depending on our circumstances, an ionic mineral supplement might be very beneficial. Um, they the minerals in ionic mineral solution, they are bioavailable, so they're not synthesized. They're not anything that our body has to sift through. Our body can utilize them right from the get-go for healthy bones and nerves and help balance everything. Okay, avoid fluoridated water. Very, very, very important. It's one of the most widely used tooth treatments, but it has a risk. Of course, fluoride is technically a natural element found in the earth, but this is different than what the excuse me, the form, the fluorosilicic acid, silicic acid that they add to our water. That it is not our friend. It is very, very harmful. And it's actually a dangerous neurotoxin, endocrine disruptor, can negatively affect the health of our bones and our teeth, our thyroid, our pineal gland, which is a big regulator. All of these things are very important. Our blood sugar levels, all of these things can be infected. It can have some benefits for some if it's used topically, but we certainly are not needing it in our drinking water and should be avoided at all costs. And so if you're happening to be in an area where fluoridated water is what comes through your pipes, there's a lot of filters that will get it out. And I would strongly recommend that. Cleaning the teeth thoroughly after eating does wonders. You've got about 15 minutes before especially sugary things start having a negative effect on your teeth. It can help keep the plaque from accumulating, the harmful bacteria from multiplying, the pH from becoming too acidic. If it's brushing or flossing isn't an option, thoroughly swishing with water will loosen those food particles and rinse the teeth. It's better than nothing. Many dentists find that their patients are not flossing correctly. It takes time and it takes effort, and sometimes our teeth are just not in the right position to make flossing a really good option. So many dentists are advocating for water picks if flossing is not your thing. And again, you've got those 15 minutes, and in your toothpaste, it's very much in your interest if there's no fluoride or sodium lauryl sulfate. And again, Apogard is a really good, from my experience, a really good recommendation. Tom's of Maine used to be really good, but they were bought out, and now some of their offerings are not as good. But there's many, many good natural toothpastes out there. So rinsing with warm water and sea salt is also really good, especially if you feel like you're developing any sort of a challenge. Again, this alkalinizes the mouth. And just to repeat it, I guess for emphasis, it helps keep the kill the acid-producing bacteria. It's a viable alternative to oil pulling. Oil pulling, actually, if you're doing it on a regular basis, they recommend at least 2 times a week. It really develops those muscles, especially if you're doing it for the full 20 minutes. And some people just don't have the wherewithal. So this is a viable alternative. It will reduce inflammation, promotes a good oral pH. And again, you can add a few drops of essential oil, clove, or mint. Not only freshens the breath, but again, helps to kill that bacteria. Another alternative is food grade hydrogen peroxide. If you don't have food grade, there's a different formulation later on in the presentation where you can use over-the-counter hydrogen peroxide. If you're using food grade, you dilute it with 50% water. Don't use alcohol-based mouthwashes. They're harsh and they irritate the gums and actually dehydrating the gum area. Not good for our teeth.
Well, would this be a treatment also for canker sores then?
Yes, I would definitely use that for
Because
canker sores.
Karen suffers with that a lot.
Yeah, I would think that those, and you might want to add, well, either, yeah, the mint oil would be really good for that because it would kill that bacteria. Uh, and yeah, that would be a really good solution for
She had,
that. Thank you
she
for
had,
that question.
she had used
So if you've ever stuck out, most of us
crematorium.
are past the age when we stick our tongue out, but anyways, if we ever do see our tongue, it doesn't have a white or grayish coating. That would actually be a buildup of dead cells, food particles, toxins, and bacteria. And obviously, if it's coating our tongue, it's affecting our mouth flora. So cleaning the tongue properly and regularly is very, very important. They make tongue scrapers, small, slightly rounded tool. Um, some of them are made from sterling silver, which is really good because that's a natural germ killer. But most generally, you'll see them from like stainless steel or plastic. They scrape the surface of the tongue pretty gently, but pretty effectively, and remove that daily buildup. It
I've seen
vastly improves your breath. Go ahead, Randy.
I've seen some on the back of a toothbrush. They'll have a uh, the back of the toothbrush behind the bristles will be a scraper type
Interesting.
on some
Huh,
of the
I
oral
haven't seen
blooms.
that. Very cool. Thank you. And it's going to help eliminate bacteria that might also, as it stays there, could contribute to tooth decay or gum disease. And so many of us struggle with gum disease. While we're on the just mentioning gum disease, a friend of mine was suffering with receding gums. I mentioned oil pulling to him and different things. Instead, he was taking um, olive leaf extract for another condition, and he found that it halted the receding of his gums and it's actually reversing it. And I've not found that in any of the literature, but I thought I would share because um, it's been remarkable for him. He's been very, very grateful for that. So again, olive leaf extract, and he's taking it in capsule form. So using oral specific probiotics can be helpful, as we know that they play a critical role in our gut health. Um, it's questionable unless you're getting the refrigerated ones that are that are very expensive and very specific. Many times the less expensive ones are actually killed in our gut. They don't make it to where we want in our stomach. They don't make it to the lower gut where we want them. But anyways, using oral specific probiotics can be helpful because many of us know that uh, the mouth is the beginning of our digestive system. If we were talking about the digestive system, one of the things I would say in relation to the mouth is chew our food thoroughly, 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 thoroughly. Very, very helpful. One of one lady that I'm aware of was having severe digestive problems. She tried this, that, all these natural things, all these wonderful things. And it wasn't until she really started chewing her food thoroughly that she saw a difference in her health. So, very basic, very, very important. Beneficial oral microbes work along with the immune system. They help prevent harmful bacteria, the ones associated with tooth decay and gum disease from becoming too prominent. Uh, Help facilitate important enzymatic activity. That's a nice way of breaking, the chemicals that break things down. They help balance the pH of the mouth. And bacteria, as we know, love to hide out in the small gaps between your teeth and your gums. Using a daily tooth product that features these beneficial microbes can do wonders from keeping them from proliferating. Another thought is to whiten with charcoal, not chemicals. It seems oxymoron, but charcoal can actually whiten and brighten the teeth. Um, Unlike toothpaste, if it spills on you, no big deal. Charcoal, you don't want that on your clothes. You don't want that. Yeah, you're going to have to change because you won't be able to get that out to the laundry. So if you're using that as a toothpaste, be really careful not to let it get on your clothes. Highly absorbent substance can help to absorb the toxins, bacteria, also particles that are staining the teeth. This is a brand of a remineralizing tooth whitening powder. Um, addresses staining, remineralization, healthy microbial balance. It has a blend of activated coconut charcoal, sodium bicarb, which is also it's a more caustic way, but it can definitely make a difference with our teeth. Coconut oil powder, calcium from algae, organic essential oils, and oral specific probiotics. I have had no experience with it, but the ingredients sound like a really viable product to try. And again, it's a much safer alternative to chemical based bleaching agents that weaken and sensitize the teeth, which are not good. Okay, essential oils, they're the highly concentrated oils from the leaves, the flowers, the grasses, and roots, and they contain like the concentrated essence of the plant's beneficial constituents. Not all of them, but many of them, and again, very concentrated. Certain EOs, such as tea tree, wintergreen, peppermint, clove, rosemary, and thyme, excellent. These are the consistently the ones that you see associated with oral health. In fact, I was at the vegan, one of the vegan conferences in San Francisco. I've been to a few of them, and there's a gentleman that was always there, and he would be selling these mixes for oral health, and he was mixing these specific oils and charging and getting quite a bit of money for that because they do work. So they help freshen the breath, and they also help support healthy blood circulation in the gums and the teeth. If you had a wintergreen plant around, chewing on that. If you had clove bark or clove bud, you could chew on that. But this again is a easier way to get this going on. Citrus oils such as orange and tangerine are also brightening, and they have the added benefit that they can help loosen and dissolve stains. And again, you want only the therapeutic grade ones. They can use, if you're making your own toothpaste or mouthwash or tooth powder recipes, they can be used again for oil pulling, and it's very easy to make a difference with essential oils. Prevention, of course, is easier than cure, which is why we're spending time on this. The better job you do at keeping up with the conditions in your mouth, the less likely dental emergencies are to occur. And again, people like me that are born with weaker teeth, we have to be more careful. If you're going out of the country, which doesn't happen much these days, or to a remote area, see your dentist far enough in advance so you have time to get work done as needed. And again, if you have any sort of a temporary thing going on in your head, a temporary crown, anything like that, get that taken care of before you leave the area where your dentist is. So, moving into emergency care. If you had a toothache or a crown should fall out or your gums become inflamed, there are some ways that we can stop that pain and keep up the function until we can visit a dentist. So first of all, we'd want to rinse the area with warm salt water. The recommendation that most sites make is just regular table salt. Well, I would totally agree with that if your regular table salt is something like real salt or Himalayan salt, sea salt of some sort. Because again, you're going to get the maybe ever so slight, but you're going to get some benefit from the trace minerals that are in there.
But you'll see the numbers.
Excuse me, my phone started talking. Just a minute. There it goes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, we are ready, Wayne.
Oh, that is so weird. I thought I had YouTube shut off, but it was resurrected there. Yeah, okay. So essential oils again. Okay, so just the salt water's going to perhaps wash out something lodged in there that's causing the discomfort, but it's also going to help disinfect the area to a somewhat extent and bring that to a better pH, which will be more beneficial as you're waiting to see the dentist. Essential oils like thyme and clove are antiseptic. They can help curb the pain. I will tell you that clove, I have not tried thyme, but I've tried clove, and it is an extremely strong antiseptic. Unfortunately, at the time that I did it, it was not commonly recommended as a remedy, and in the instructions, it did not tell you to in the very scarce instructions, did not tell you to dilute it. I ended up actually eroding some of my gum because I did not dilute the clove oil. That is extremely important, and we'll get to that in a different slide. But and I would assume it would be the same for thyme essential oil. They are very strong, and they definitely help curb the pain. But again, you need to be careful with them. If the pain is due to an underlying layer of your teeth, the dentin becoming exposed, the only way you're going to be able to deal with that pain, which some of us know is excruciating, is you've got to cover it with either a sugar-free gum or a wax substance. And some drugstores sell kits with a material to plug up that exposed area. It's usually good for 48 hours. I actually found that for the first time in a little drugstore that's like a subsidiary of a grocery store downtown. First time I have ever seen it. So I picked that up and put it in our bug out kit because, yeah, that could happen. So, of course, you want to get to the dentist as soon as possible. But if you should fall and break or chip a tooth, cover that exposed area in the same manner. And don't fret if you should swallow that little chip, it's going to come, everything's going to come out all right. It's not going to be an issue. If your filling falls out, keep that lost piece to show your dentist unless you swallowed it, which does happen. Keep the tooth clean. Brush gently with a toothpaste, lukewarm water. Avoid eating in this area. Depending on the depth of your cavity, if it's a shallow filling, you might be able to just swish water around really easily. I mean, get it clean that way. But again, brushing gently with a toothpaste. Avoid eating in that area. I would be swishing with salt water and essential oil fairly frequently, 3 times a day, well, at least after eating. Then there's temporary restorative materials. They contain zinc oxide. That's the kind I was talking about. And you can use that to the same as you would have used a different situation anytime you have an exposed dental matter in your teeth. And then if you should break, if you've got a crown or a cap, same kind of thing. If you lose one, clean the area up really well. Try to put it back in. That's what that's actually in reverse order on the slide. So clean thoroughly, try to put it back in. The paste from the drugstore, or you can mix your own with Vaseline and cornstarch. I do not like the idea of putting a mineral oil product in my mouth, especially in the tooth area. There are petroleum jelly alternatives that look and feel and operate just like Vaseline. If you can get a hold of that, that would be definitely a better alternative. You want it to make it pretty thick. You want to put the paste in that cavity in your teeth, place the crown back on, and bite down gently until you feel that it's sealed. And of course, that extra glue that seeps out won't taste good, but you're getting a good temporary fix until you can get that dealt with. If you're wearing a denture or a partial, you can use crazy glue to replace a tooth that may have come off your denture or your partial. Many consumers have difficulty refitting that tooth. It's not as easy as it might seem. If you have an immediate, very important occasion where that tooth is going to really help you make a difference, then go ahead and try to glue it. But if it can wait a day or so, the strong advice is to wait for a professional, wait for your dentist. And dentures, it's a plastic base. The partial dentures are the things that we often call partials. They're mounted on a metal frame, and they fill a gap that's left by missing teeth. Again, super glue will work, but it's just not that easy for many of us to make a really good mend on that. But again, can be done. What you are. Okay, if you start having pain, again, these different oils, thyme, clove, those are the go-tos for the pain issues. But again, if they're not diluted, they can erode the gum tissue over time. You have to get to the root of the problems. Sometimes you may have a gum infection. And in fact, almost always, if you have persistent pain, you've got an infection. I would strongly recommend the natural antibiotic that we discussed the other day, having some usnea on hand. If there's swelling and bleeding around the gums, you want to see a dentist as soon as possible. It may indicate something more serious. Any of us that have had this happen, we know how painful this is. You may have to have an abscess drained, at least from a dental perspective. But again, the usnea should make a big difference if you've got that on hand. And switching with these different essential oils are definitely going to help kill bacteria. They should make a difference. If you really need a dentist ASAP, there are areas of facilities you can get to over the weekend. Regional hospitals have dental residency programs, residents on call. If there's a dental school in the area, they have emergency facilities. I don't know. Our emergency facilities would be at least an hour out, and possibly even more. There's no dental schools in our area. So a root canal refers to damaged tissues in the tooth. Many holistic dentists are very adamantly opposed to root canals. They feel like the infection that precipitated this condition just continues to erode and make a difference in our jaw bones and through the rest of our bodies. It's been potentially connected to many different health problems having a root canal. Many of us have already had them done. And then after we've had them done, they still have problems. The fillings don't last that long, and or it wasn't dealt with correctly, and the infection reignited. These are really things that many of us have dealt with and will potentially deal with in the future. So you want to keep, if you are feeling like you're dealing with a root canal issue, you want to keep cold and sweets away from that painful area. If you do this, the pain will typically go away. Cold and heat. If you also have a sensitivity to the heat that doesn't dissipate, it's an indication of a more serious problem. Like, for instance, if you drink coffee or chocolate, hot chocolate, the tooth hurts even after that stimulus is gone. It tends to indicate a problem with the tooth, or that the tooth is dying, traumatized. In other words, something needs to be done about it. Maybe it's as simple as an antibiotic as a painkiller. Sometimes it just works to keep the hot and the sweet and the cold away till you have it seen by a dentist. And again, if you're taking usnea as a precautionary measure, that may be all that you need to do, but at least the usnea will buy you some time. You need to continue to assess. If you can't quite put your finger on the pain, go through a mental checklist. Is a filling missing? Is a tooth broken? You could try aspirin or ibuprofen. Hopefully you've been able to process some wild lettuce leaf, and you've got or willow bark, and you've got that you could use. Is it gum related? Is the pain gum related? Sometimes we'll mechanically get something stuck in there. A big culprit is like a popcorn hole or something like that. Just getting that out may work, and any soreness, a topical ointment, a diluted essential oil might be all that you need. Whoa. Well, I think that's how it, yes. So you could make your own dental bag. Thank you, Father. So you could pack a small just-in-case bag. This could be part of your bug-out bag if this is something that you have, or you could just have a just-in-case bag with 2-3 pair basics. Salt packets, you can actually get real salt in little salt packets. For an emergency, the iodized salt would probably be sufficient. Gauze, just in case there's some bleeding that needs to be mopped up. Q-tips, in case you want to swab the area. That could be really careful, very beneficial if you want to swab a specific area with the diluted essential oil. If you want ibuprofen or another anti-inflammatory painkiller, willow bark is really good for anti-inflammatory. Turmeric is really good. Turmeric is another thing that many people add to their oil pulling because of its anti-inflammatory and its antimicrobial abilities. So turmeric is a really good one that you could put in there. A small container if you lose a crown or a piece of a tooth. Phone number of your dentist and an emergency dentist. A pack of sugar-free gum or wax or tooth glue. Super glue, if that's applicable, if you have a dentures or plates. Vaseline and the cornstarch, again, I would recommend more of a Vaseline alternative if at all possible. Clove oil, thyme oil. You could include all of the other, smaller amounts of the other essential oils that I've mentioned, but those are the main painkillers. So if you wanted to just stick with those, that would work. And again, I would put in wild lettuce capsules and usnea capsules as part of my dental bag. So going back to the essential oil for teeth or gums, we're going to go through these different ones that are mentioned and what their wonderful capabilities. Clove is probably the one that's most commonly associated with oral health. It can relieve tooth pain and bad breath, help reduce gum disease, restricts the development of bacteria, can help fight mouth and throat infections. So really good one for that. Thyme is in the mint family, and we're going to talk about peppermint and spearmint that are also obviously in the mint family. Thyme is often used in mouthwashes and elixirs. It gives flavor and freshness, natural chemicals that help defend from tooth decay, gingivitis, general oral infections, and again, it is also an analgesic. Oregano. Many of us use oregano oil if we've got any kind of if we just don't feel good. It will just really take care of so many microbes. So it's a powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties, helps reduce bacteria, fungal infections, help boost the immune system. And again, this is another one that you might want to add to the coconut oil if you're doing oil pulling. Tea tree, great for bad breath, really strong bug killer. Great for DIY toothpaste, mouthwash, tooth powders. Its ability to kill bacteria, diminish tooth decay, relieve bleeding gums. So many of us deal with bleeding gums on an almost regular basis. Tea tree oil can and will help with this. Don't swallow this. You must spit this out and rinse with water. It will kill good flora as well. So you don't want to swallow that. It's very, very strong. Unless I guess you would be a little bit better off if it has been diluted. And one thing that I don't think that I mentioned with the oil pulling, don't swallow that stuff. It is full of junk that it's absorbed from your mouth. You always want to dispose of that in the garbage can, not in your pipes. Over time, it will plug your pipes or be very harmful to your septic system. Peppermint, spearmint, cooling and numbing effects, can soothe the tooth and muscle aches. It's exceptionally powerful for fighting oral pathogens, killing common bacteria that can lead to cavities and gum disease. Again, cinnamon, antibacterial, antifungal, antiseptic, effective cleanser for every oral health care need, and can help relieve a sore throat. Cinnamon oil contains the greatest antimicrobial properties that protect against bacteria accountable for tooth problems. And myrrh oil is Antimicrobial, it also can help soothe and heal the gums. It increases blood flow to the tissue. Myrrh oil is really a good one to add. It's not domestically produced, but it's a really good treatment. Abscess. Should you develop an abscess, they can arise from infections that develop inside the tooth. Bacteria can enter the tooth when it's chipped, broken, or decaying. And again, if that should happen to you, make sure that you're rinsing your mouth out at least after every time you eat, and that you're not eating on that side as much as possible. You want to protect that area, but they still can happen because it just, it's an area. Once the bacteria reaches the center of the tooth becomes infected. Pus accumulates, the pus in the tooth swells. As you can imagine, that's a pretty enclosed area and it hurts. If it's not treated, it can spread to the gums and the bones of the mouth. So it's really important that we pay attention to this. You do not want it to spread to the bone. This is where real health problems can super develop. Very, very important that we pay attention to these. A tooth abscess should be treated by a dentist, but some home remedies can relieve the discomfort until we can get there. Oops. And let's see, where can I do that? Okay. And so here's some things that we can do. Again, the salt water rinse, the specific about a half teaspoon of salt with a half cup of warm tap water. Again, if you've got any kind of fluoride or chlorine, make sure that this is filtered, that you don't want any of those other chemicals in there. Rinse your mouth with the salt water. Try to swish it around for at least 2 minutes, which is forever, but it's not that long. You can do that. Spit it out. Repeat until you've used that whole half cup. And repeat that up to 3 times a day. Again, at least after every time you eat and before bedtime. Baking soda, most of us have that around. Half tablespoon with a half cup water and a pinch of salt. Swish it up for around 5 minutes. Spit it out and repeat it until you've finished everything. This one they only recommend 2 times a day. Oregano essential oil. Again, this is antibacterial. It can help reduce the swelling and pain. Be sure to dilute any essential EO with a carrier such as fractionated coconut oil, almond oil, so that it doesn't cause further irritation. You would mix a few drops of the EO with the carrier oil, apply a few drops of this to the cotton ball or swab, and then hold that on the infected area for 2 to 3 minutes. Then you could remove it and leave, but don't remove the mixture. Try to keep your tongue away from that area for at least 10 minutes and then rinse. Repeat that up to 3 times a day. A cold compress definitely will help reduce the pain and swelling. You want to put ice cubes in a dry towel, hold that against your skin as close as you can to the affected area. You can use those for 15-minute intervals many times a day, as much as you need to. Fenugreek tea. Fenugreek has antibacterial properties, long history as home remedy, healing wounds, reducing inflammation. It's very interesting that it also, if you have a nursing mother that has trouble producing milk, fenugreek is your go-to for that. It just really makes a big difference. Tea is a really good way for that one as well. You can get it in the spice aisle of the supermarket, sometimes in the foreign section. You could get it online if you wanted to. So you would make a tea. You would heat 1 cup of water, stir in 1 teaspoon of the ground fenugreek, allow it to cool. I would leave the lid on while you're allowing it to cool. Apply a small amount to the affected area with a cotton ball or a swab. You can do that for 3 times a day. Clove oil, again, as we've gone over, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. Try to get organic if you're getting it off of at the supermarket. I don't know that they process it with chemicals much. I just feel more comfortable recommending organic. comes in diluted forms for dental use, as well as very concentrated clove essential oil. You would, if you're using that form, you would dilute 3 to 5 drops of essential oil in a whole ounce of the carrier oil. It is that strong, really, really strong. So apply that to the to the affected area. Like we said, a few drops on a cotton ball or a swab. You can also make a mouthwash, and you can use that up to 3 times a day. Thyme essential oil, again, we don't care that it kills parasites in this application, but it does. Fight bacteria, reduce swelling. Again, you would dilute it similar to the clove oil. You can make a mouthwash off of it, and you would use this up to 3 times a day. Here's the hydrogen peroxide again. This is regular hydrogen peroxide. So you would do this 50-50, but use it for a mouthwash. Be sure not to swallow it. You can use this multiple times a day. Again, it's very good at fighting bacteria. It can also help reduce plaque and help with bleeding gums. Another little plug for oil pulling, because it does remove these toxins. It can help with bleeding gums, and they say there's not enough scientific evidence. Well, there's hundreds of years of evidence as far as testimonies. Again, it's recommended in the morning on an empty stomach, vigorously for 20 minutes. And again, don't spit it out in the sink, just in a garbage can. Garlic is another really, really good natural remedy for teeth problems, because it's so, it's a good pain manager, bacteria killer, antifungal, just really, really good stuff. So you would make a paste by crushing the fresh clove of the garlic, rub the paste on the infected area. You can do that multiple times a day. Again, some of us might be a little bit sensitive to the pure garlic. You could dilute it a little bit, but of course, yeah, you could dilute it a little bit. But garlic is a really, really good one. And I've just taken a clove of garlic and split it and kind of held it against the affected area with my tongue for about 10 minutes or so. And it really does help. So when the pain is reducing, some of it is just because of the therapeutic topical analgesic properties of whatever natural remedy that you're using. But know also that it is working to heal the situation, that it's not just a painkiller. But it's hard to know how effective it is until you allow that pain to reoccur a little bit, if it's going to reoccur. Pain is such an important indicator of what's going on in our bodies. So an abscess tooth, again, is a serious infection that can spread to the face, the eyes, the sinus areas if it's left untreated. Again, the recommendation, see a doctor, dentist as soon as possible. The home remedies are meant to be complementary. You may need antibiotics in dental care. Nope, that's not what. Oh, that was it. Okie doke. So any questions? Anybody? Comments,
share.
questions?
I just wanted to share
Go ahead.
I just wanted to share many years ago, I was attacked, and they attacked my dog as well, and I didn't know it, but they broke his tooth and I didn't see it. And I took him and he had the tooth removed, but I didn't know it until his face had swollen up almost to his eye with infection. And they gave me some antibiotics, and the antibiotics were $8 a pill, and they gave me 10 of them. It was $80. And they said, but we don't think it'll help. But I gave them to anyway, and the swelling went down. Well, 2 days after I stopped the antibiotics, the swelling was all back again. I took some DMSO with some oregano oil and some clove oil and just mixed them all together with some olive oil. And I rubbed that on the area, and he never had a problem after that. The swelling went down, never had the infection after that. So I want to say that this stuff does work.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. And I like how you mentioned the DMSO, because that is something that many of us know, it just really penetrates. So I think that probably really enhanced what you did for your dog. That's really cool. Thank you for that. Thank you. Very
LuAnne?
cool. That's very, very encouraging.
My husband had an abscessed tooth. It was late on a Friday. And we actually took part of an onion, chopped it up real fine, and put it in an empty tea bag. You know how you make your own tea? Put that up
Yeah.
against it, and it absorbed all the infection out of it, so he could wait until Monday to go see his dentist.
Awesome.
But it was
Really, really cool. Many of us have experienced the drawing powder of onions. It's just amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's very, very
It was
encouraging.
the root end of the onion, specifically the root end. We just chopped that
Yes.
up and put it in there.
LuAnne?
Yes.
LuAnne, I was curious. I think I've told you this before, but to stop bleeding, I don't know, the mouth might be a little sensitive to use this, but cayenne pepper will stop bleeding. It'll cause
Yes.
the blood, it'll stop bleeding. If you cut yourself or anything else, you put cayenne pepper on it, and I used to think, well, that's nuts, because if anything, it would turn the faucet on and it would bleed worse. But no, it causes the blood to clot. It works very effectively that way. So I don't know how.
Isn't it No, I appreciate how you brought that out, Randy. We did share that in one of the other seminars, but it's interesting because if you take it internally, it tends to thin the blood. But like you say, if you use it externally, when you're bleeding like that, it does clot it. So it's just, oh, God is just amazing.
Well,
Thank you, Randy.
I took it because I was always having these intestinal bleeds.
Ah.
And we found that the cayenne pepper actually sealed off the bleeds.
I've read that it will do that. There's other herbs that will do that as well. And it's just, again, amazing that we, the things that by God's grace we can do for ourselves that
And
are
one
so
other
much
thing
more.
I wanted to ask about, and that is, I've seen this on Facebook. Of course, you can't believe everything you see on Facebook, but there is some sort of a milkweed that is a painkiller that works, they say, as effectively as codeine or morphine. Do you know what that is?
We covered, yep, wild lettuce. We covered that, and I gave a recipe for that.
Okay.
Was that yesterday or the day before?
I think it was a day, must have been the day before.
It must have been the day before. But Randy, yeah, access that or send me an email and I'll shoot you the PowerPoint, because it's got a very good recipe for that. And I would that's why I mentioned adding that in your dental kit, because it seems to be super effective. And I'm also in awe that so many of these things that are so effective that have been underground for these many years are resurfacing. And
Well, I
go ahead.
take Norco because my back gives me so much pain, and I try very hard not to take too much of it, because the last thing I want to do is become totally dependent on it. But when I get up in the morning, I literally cannot stand up. The pain is so acute. And my wife, we got a scooter, and so I can get around on the scooter, but it hurts me to walk or do anything of that type. And last week I was up in McCloud Falls, up above Dunsmuir, and my trike, it's a three-wheeler. The right wheel went off. They have about a 2-inch drop from the pavement of the path.
Right.
And then the steering wheel jerked to the right, and I got ejected out onto the dirt. And so I have this lovely, you can see some of it. I was bleeding and in a lot of pain. And so now my right leg, which was the only good one I had left, the left one has been affected by the stroke. The right leg now is very painful. And so, we're going to they're going to do another MRI, but I've had the shots in the back, and everything, and it just hasn't seemed to do anything that it needed to do. So anything I can use, any painkiller that I can use where I can, get rid of the opiate is something that I'm very, very interested in. So the name
they actually
Wild
They
lettuce?
actually sell it commercially. You can look online. You can actually get it prepared commercially.
What's the name of it?
There's different brands.
So it's
I
made
can
of,
look it up. I'm sure I've got your email. I've got
yeah,
I could text you at least.
I'd appreciate that
But
very much.
yeah, because we're past the season of gathering, so it would be
If you have my
good.
old email address, I'm no longer in the ministry. I'm retired, so I don't have a
Right.
conference email anymore. So, but Sandy knows how to.
And
Well,
you
we're
were
we're
gonna
Facebook
send,
friends, so I could message you. So
Okay.
we can do
LuAnne,
that.
if you can send me your PowerPoints, that'd be good too.
Oh, that would be
Okay.
awesome.
Send me your
Okay.
PowerPoints, your recipes or whatever. And I think Joseph had a question.
Go
Yes,
ahead, Joseph.
yes, I was wondering, when you mentioned probiotics, should a probiotic that you bought, I know you said they're not very effective, but I just got a bottle left over. Should they be taken on an empty stomach? And the second part of the question is, I heard that you can make a probiotic with cabbage. How do you do that?
I've heard that as well. Many of our vegetables, like I've mentioned, fruits and vegetables, are prebiotics. And so those are going to be helpful. I don't have a particular recipe for the cabbage probiotic thing. And as far as taking it, I would suggest it on an empty stomach, but they all have their own specific directions if you're buying a commercial formulation. So yeah, that cabbage thing, that's intriguing.
LuAnne,
I'm glad you mentioned that. We have like 20-pound cabbages. So
LuAnne,
that
for,
yes, ma'am.
for the cabbage, you need to ferment it. If you ferment
Right.
the cabbage, it's a probiotic.
Well, it's like
Well, that's
sauerkraut,
a-
isn't it?
Yes, but yeah,
But there's-
cold. You don't want it hot. It has to be cold. It's the cold fermenting. Yeah, you don't eat hot.
That's what I was just going to say. There's different ways of fermenting the cabbage.
Yes.
So
How do
yeah,
you ferment it?
and being very specific to that would be very important because yeah, you can end up with a project that's actually harmful and not beneficial from my perspective.
Yeah, well, to ferment it, you just cut it all up and you used salt. We used the sea salt, and then you let it just sit in jars with the water from it, and for what, 4 weeks or so, and then you refrigerate it.
2 to 3 weeks.
I think Charmaine.
So do you
did-
weight your jars at all? Do you weight it on top?
Yes, you want to weight it down. Yeah.
We have special
Because
jars.
that's what helps that's what helps it to sweat and produce the liquid, if I remember right.
Right. Yeah, you want that. Yeah. It's really super easy to do.
What do you mean by weight it down?
Keep it submerged.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
mean
wanna keep it
under the
submerged.
water or whatever?
Yeah, keep it submerged in the water that you make when you mix the salt with the cabbage. You work that and work it, and it will get liquid in there. And then you put the cabbage in your jar and you pack it really, really tight. It's not loose. You pack that cabbage in your jar really tight and make sure the water's on top of it. And then we usually put a leaf of the cabbage on the top, and then you seal your jar and let it sit for 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then
And
refrigerate.
when you're and when you're mixing it like with the salt and stuff, the reaction of the cabbage as well as kale or some of the others, it's called sweating, and that's what produces that liquid. So thank you for that. Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Well, LuAnne, I really
Hopefully
appreciate
that was
you being
helpful.
here. I'm glad.
Well,
you're
I'm glad to
here,
be here.
and I hope you don't forget us just because you're done with your talks. Keep getting on and talking to us.
I always enjoy
I've been-
it, Lynn, because you have so many
Well,
good ideas.
Well, I enjoy y'all and I love y'all. Unfortunately, I'm having to stay really busy, so I'm usually participating with the YouTube because the Zoom doesn't work so well. And then I'm doing all my work close to the house so I don't run out of signals because I want to listen to y'all.